just had interview with some of our person was having interview on the road, like in the middle of the road. Or another one was walking about, another one was walking about in her office. That's not that's enough. That alone is a turn off. Is a total turn off. Like that's as a total starting our interview section now. Now I want to ask everybody: have you all had, or have you all been for an international interview before, or have you been opportune to go for an international interview before?
I have not been.
You haven't been. Has anyone been? It means silence means whether silence means no, now silence means yes. Depends on the contents of the question. So has anyone been? If you have been, say yes, I've been. If you haven't been, say no, I haven't been.
No,
I've
I
been.
So
haven't.
yes, who says yes, I have been?
It's Ego.
Ego. All right. So Ego, can you give us a little brief how do one prepare for an international interview? I mean, someone that hasn't been for an international interview will be kind of scared because it's different from how it is back home. Yeah. So can you give us a brief introduction of how interview sections, how do you prepare? Because before you step into a battlefield, you need to be prepared for the battlefield. So how do you get prepared?
Okay, thank you very much. The one I've actually had was, I think it was about 2, 3 months ago. The video I watched was one of people's video where Mr. Otaigbe introduced, when he told us from the beginning to actually introduce ourselves. After introducing ourselves, our place, where we schooled, from our school, going to, if you had done an internship before, I talked about I had 1 year internship experience. After that, then I went into the aspect when he now told us after that we should tell them that we have been exposed to different clinical settings. From there, then I started talking about the values based on the job description of the advert, so that it can align with what what they are expecting. Then apart from that, and I also talked about my care for patients, because he told us always make use of the nursing process. So whenever I talk, I was always relating my care to nursing process. He said it makes the work easier for us. It makes it more simplified for them to understand. Then after that one, and I also told them about the values of the hospital. Generally, those were the things I said, plus my education background. I told them I try as much as possible to want to develop myself academically, because of I think for career progression. So that was the thing I did, but eventually they told me, unfortunately. So that was the bit I did.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much. So at times when you have unfortunate, it could be that there are just so many people qualified for that position, and you they just have to do many more for the has donkey. Yeah, and then pick one. It could also be that you do not give them what the points that they're actually looking for. Somebody has much more experience than you. So did you ask them later? Did they give, because sometimes they don't give you feedback. You understand? But some of them go the extra mile to give you feedback on you did this is why we didn't take you. So did you ask for a feedback?
When I did not really ask for a feedback, although they replied me and told me unsuccessful, but I didn't really bother to ask them for a feedback because I was already heartbroken. I felt it's not really too much. It's later and I remember that I would have asked, but then I was already heartbroken.
Yeah. Interviews are like 5 and 6, like 50-50, The good thing is even the fact that you even held the interview virtually. There are people that take transport and go to a different location for an interview and then having to go back. Imagine the transport fare they have to use and go there and then they come back. And probably because they are opening a position for about 3 and then they've got so many people that are so good. You understand? And they also have some people that's already within their set, probably that have been working with them for a while and just needed to upgrade to that position. So they just took some of them and took few other people, just select and pick. So at times it's always good to get the feedback from them and also see how best you can improve for your next time. So what I've once had an interview a certain time, and I remember when I had that interview and I asked for a feedback, and they were like, "Yeah, you did well. It's just that there's certain questions that we asked you, which was why you want this job," and they feel like I didn't really give them substantial reason why I want the job. So they didn't really feel it. Apart from that, every other thing I answered it. So they were a bit concerned, whereby what if I come into the job and then the next 1 month I feel like I don't want the job anymore, and then all the time they spend on training me has gone off and all of that. So that's a good feedback. In as much as it's a painful feedback, it's a constructive feedback. You understand? It's a constructive feedback. It makes you go back to do a little bit of research. Okay, what do they expect when someone is asking you why you want a job. What should I be expecting? How should I give an answer in regards to that? And then I went for the next interview, fully prepared. Even before they even finished that interview, I knew I had gotten that job. And I wasn't even surprised when I got called. So it wasn't some sort of a shocker. I just knew I'd gotten that job. So it helps you progress just like that. So first and foremost, preparing for an interview has a lot of factors, okay? When you want to prepare for interview, for those that haven't done any interview before, most of the time being abroad and being in, you don't tend to attend the interview physically. You tend to attend this interview virtually. But because you tend to attend this interview virtually, and when I mean virtually, I mean like they won't see you face to face. They will see like just the way I'm speaking with you. They'll be having the interview with you just like that. And so how do you prepare for this interview? There are so many factors you have to put into consideration while you're preparing for an interview. I listed factors related to the individual, factors related to the environment, factors related to technology. Okay. And then let me see if I added one more factor because I listed them out into different factors. So as to make you, so I listed factors related to the human, that's the human being, to the environment and the technology. Now, factors related to the human being, it's all about how are you prepared in terms of your composure for the interview. Are you trying to change your phonetics? Are you trying to form a tonation? Are you trying to be in your natural tone? We always encourage people to always try and be in your natural tone. It's enough that your brain is already cracking and thinking about, okay, what do I have to say next? What do I have to say this? And then you're still giving yourself additional work on having to change your tonation. Nobody cares about your tonation. Just talk calmly. Speak English. Right? I used to speak in English. So just speak English calmly. Okay, my name is this. Even if you have an accent, for the fact that you are not a British national, for the fact that you're not originally from an English country, you are bound to have an accent because that is not your real country. Where you are from is another country. So having English is your second language. So having an accent is expected. So it's always important that you speak in your natural tone and natural tonation. Secondly, you need to learn to smile. Now, people have different mechanism. Now, if my own personally defense mechanism is smiling, so even if you annoy me today, I just smile because that's the only way I can remain calm. And in the world, especially in the developed world, they believe in the principle of customer service. Now, what do I mean by that? It means that regardless of what a customer is doing for you, you put on a smiling face. All right. And then they believe that's the way forward. So it also shows confidence in what you are doing. It makes them feel like, it makes you relax yourself and makes the examiner or the interviewer relaxed as well too. So when you are having an interview, it's always good to remain calm, confident, and smile. Try to look directly eyeball to eyeball to the interviewer. That shows confidence. It does not mean you should do like this, whereby you're kind of like daring or that kind of threatening the person. You understand? Doesn't mean you should look, because some people will start feeling scared and threatened and all of that. So it doesn't mean you should look like that. But most importantly, just smile and relax. Okay. I know speaking is easier than doing. So what we normally encourage people is do not see the interviewer as your word manager. Now, why I said do not see them as your word manager, because many people tend to fear those in authority, especially in our world, like Nigeria and Africa and other places, especially we tend to fear them, and we don't tend to have the confidence to speak to them. So, but when we are speaking to our fellow peers, someone that we relate with, we tend to freely talk. So see them as your fellow peers. Let your interview look like you are chatting, you are relating, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be courteous when you are speaking. You should always be respectful and courteous. When you are speaking with your friends, you might be a little bit loose in your tongue. But if you are speaking to an interviewer, you need to be very respectful. But in the same time, while being respectful, you also need to be free and talk like you are just gisting between you and that interviewer. Now, that's factors related to the person. Now, the second factor, which is related to the environment, which says, how is your environment? Is it so busy? Is it disturbing? Do you have a very, very disturbing portrait? Or something that's, it's maybe you say, fight against this, fight against that, something that just distracts the interviewer from what you are saying and focus on that and forget that he's even interviewing you. You don't want something like that. You want a plain background. Even if you want to have a design, a little bit of designs, just something very plain. and then have the interview with the person. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a beautiful design. If you have your house is beautiful, why not? That's fine. You get, but it shouldn't be too disturbing or too busy in quotes. You understand? Just a very simple thing is good for an interview. If you go to an office space, it's similar. When something is simple, it's also very good. Yeah. So that's another thing. Also, your environment, how is it? Is it noisy? Because you do not want the fact that while you're having an interview, there's lots of noise going on the background, or you're having an interview on the road. I once had an interview with someone for our company, and the person was having interview on the road, like in the middle of the road. Or another one was walking about, another one was walking about in her office. That's not that's enough. That alone is a turn off. Is a total turn off. Like that's as a total breach. So you want to be well relaxed, sat comfortable, and speaking to the person that you're speaking to. How do you dress? Do you dress in an official way? Yeah. Okay, just give me a second. How do you dress? Do you dress in an official way, or do you just dress anyhow? The good thing about an offline like online interview that is not face to face is the fact that you probably see from here upwards. Yeah. So, but at least the part they can see should look good, right? It should look like, I don't mean you should be so extravagant, but just a simple neat clothes, it's fine. That looks official and it sends a message of you being ready, organized, and tidy in order to get ready for an interview. Now, someone asked me, how about a face-to-face interview? A face-to-face interview is quite straightforward as well, too. So in a face-to-face interview, all you need to do is to dress official. Like, you don't need to wear a suit. If it's an international interview, you don't need to wear all of that. A simple, neat, decent gown that doesn't show cleavage and covers you up. Yeah. A simple with mild makeup and a very plain and neat shoe with your hair properly packed up neatly. It's enough for a face-to-face interview. When you go to a face-to-face interview, similar thing, you'll be confident. You look at the interviewer, they ask you a question, you smile. Oh, thank you very much for that. So I believe, so whenever you start it, thank you very much for that. It gives you enough time for your brain to think on how you want to start. And at times you might start by saying rubbish for the first 2 seconds or for the first 10 seconds. And then before you know it, you've picked up what you want to say, clicks off. But you are smiling, you are talking, you're showing passion. Like you are smiling, oh, I feel like I do this. You're talking with passion, like, so you understand. And if you're someone that is shy, what I tend to do, especially if I'm not so confident, is I look at the interviewer, but I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at places surrounding the interviewer. So I'm not looking at their eyes directly. But it's like I'm looking at them, but I'm not looking at them. All right, I'm not also looking up like this. Neither am I also looking down, but I'm looking at them. But my main focus is around things surrounding the environment. I'm also taking note of their face as well too. So that helps you in a face-to-face interview. And the tendency to either, if you're someone that speaks with your hand, just like you can notice I have been doing on most occasions. If it helps you, fine. If it doesn't help you, you just put your hand down and then just smile and talk to them and express yourself. There should be a passion in you when you're speaking. But when you're speaking with passion, it doesn't mean you should be shouting. Just be calm, very mindful and demure. All right. So now let's go to the next factor, which is factor relating to technology. Now, for those that will be having an online interview, if you're having a physical interview, you don't necessarily do ask the question face to face unless you're asked to have a presentation, a slide done. So if you're asked to have a slide, you make sure that your laptop or your charger, whatever you do the slides with, it's well charged and prepared to use on time while you're bringing it forward to them. But if it's not where you have to present anything, it's an online interview. What you need to do, you have to ensure that you know how to use the app. Like most of the time, they use Teams, Microsoft Teams for the interview. Some people still use Google Meet, but most people these days use Teams for that interview. So they will let you know well ahead of time the websites or the app that we'll be using. So try and practice with this. Try and meet your fellow maybe you're married, your husband, let your husband call you at his end and you call your husband at a different end and practice. Oh, okay, it's my phone on the front camera, is it on the back camera? Because when people put on their phone in the back camera, maybe they organize the front, but the back is not organized. So they'll be seeing the back. The interviewer will be seeing the back and be wondering, I saw this as scattered. So it's always good to practice to be sure that it's at the front camera. It is. The setting is there. Also, you want to know how to, it's not during the time of the interview, you now start saying, okay, how do I do this? How do I organize this? How do I do that? Oh, and you remember when you are not relaxed, you tend to just, your mind is, while you are talking, but your mind is everywhere and you're saying rubbish. You understand? So it's very important that you put that in mind. And also, when you're talking about digital factors or tech factors, is how is the network in that environment? If you where you are, you know that MTN network is not good, or Airtel, or whatever network you use in your country, if you're not from Nigeria, it's not good. You can probably say, okay, there are places I know that networks are good. Is it in my church? My church in the afternoon is very quiet, so I can go there and have this interview. My sister house is quiet. There's good network there. I can go there and have this interview. My school is quiet in this location, and there's good network there. I can go there and have this interview. So it's not necessarily that your interview should be in your house, but wherever that you're having that interview should be quiet. There should be a good network. Your phone must be charged. It's not during that time you're planning to charge your phone. My sister and brother, you're not ready. Okay, so your phone must be fully charged, your gadgets ready, and your environment clean and prepared. Now, once all of these are all sorted, then you know how to prepare for an interview. Then you know you are ready to start that interview. Very, very important. Now, you are going to a battlefield and you are prepared. You make sure your armor is ready. You make sure you have shine your sword. You make sure your boots to fight is ready. Now, if I carry a novice and I shine shoe, I give him clean armor, I gave him a sword and say, go to the battlefield. Yes, people will see him from a distance and be like, this person is looking so good and ready. Oh yeah, I'm scared to fight him. But the moment the person hits the first check and the person is a weakling, his enemy will be able to defeat him, because why? That was a novice that have no knowledge at all about what fighting. Now, why am I bringing this as a scenario? If you're going for an interview, yes, you've done all these preambles, you are ready, you are all shiny, ready to go. Interviewer is seeing you. And then they will not ask you, okay, your very first question they ask you, and you just fumbled. That means you literally had no idea on how to prepare for an interview. And that brings me to, after the preambles, how do you prepare for an interview? After the preambles. So for you to prepare for an interview, you need to know, you need to anticipate what you can be asked. Okay, you need to anticipate what you can be asked. Now, someone will be like, well, how do I know? Am I God? Am I a ghost? Am I rich? How will I be able to find out what I can be asked? There are what they call hooks and tricks on how to know what questions you can be asked in an interview. And that brings us to the expo that they have always been giving you. That is your job description and your person specification. Your job description simply gives you an overview of what that job is about, what you're about to enter into, what you're about to step your leg into. Now, you understanding every bit of that job description makes you have an idea of what you can be asked. Now, the person specification, you will see here the right essential criteria and desirable criteria. In the essential criteria, there are certain skills they have stated there that they want this person to have. They want this person, is a must have, this person must have for the person to pass this interview. It's not just all about what you present. This essential criteria is what they want. Now, you understanding the qualities, the value that they have put under their essential criteria, and they ask you, tell me about yourself. Yeah, tell me about yourself. And you already know, okay, in the essential criteria, they wanted someone that has good interpersonal skills. They wanted someone that have cannulation skills. They wanted someone that has been able to have handled ECG before. They wanted someone that has worked in a community setting before. These are essential criteria. They wanted someone that has been able to teach junior colleagues before. Okay, but they did not mention anything about someone that is flexible. They did not mention anything about someone that is like other skills. They didn't mention any of that, or they did not mention good communication skills and all of that. But they mentioned a certain type of thing that they want to see. So when I am talking about tell me about yourself, I will make sure that when I'm talking about what I can bring or talking about myself in there, I don't necessarily need to chip in. I have good interpersonal skills. I don't need to chip in. I can give inclination, but I can twist it in a way that I will chip it in. So when I twist it and I chip it in, so that if you just say the verbatim, they could be like, this one I'm going to go and cram our job description and it's coming to give us verbatim. But if you twist it in, into most of the questions that they ask you, showing that you are the person they want. You are 100% or 99.9% going to get that job. All right, you're 99.5 going to get that job. Why? Because not only have you understood that job description, but you have also understood the person specification. And not only have you understood the person specification, you have understood the essential skills that they want that person must have. You understand? That essential skills, that thing they are looking for, it is there. That is what they want. So any other thing is just additional things. That one is what they want to see. That is what they want to hear. And not only do they want to hear, because I now and you, two of us, could be having the same interview. One of us could have gone to study the person specification. So if you go there and be telling them what they have documented, interpersonal skills, I have this one skills, I have that one skills. Okay, yes. How do we know you have it? So, but if me go there and I twist it and I chip it in, I'll most likely get the job over you, because I did not just say it verbatim, I demonstrated it. I demonstrated it. And this is very important when you are doing the interview. And now this should not only be when they ask you in the place of tell me about yourself. This should be in a place whereby they're asking you any scenario-based question. Try to chip some things in, try to chip some stuff in so as to sell yourself. Because interview is more of like, I'll tell you something like, okay, I'll give you 1 million naira, right? I'll give you one. No, where how you demonstrate? We're getting there. I'll show you how you can demonstrate, because how you demonstrate it, it's based on the question you are asked, right? So if the depending on the question you ask, you kind of chip it in. And so I know it's easier said than done, but having practical example of questions and answer will enable us to portray the points I'm trying to mention now. Okay, so now someone asks you, what's every trying to say? So interview is like they're asking you, they're someone saying that I'm going to give you 1 million naira, but you just have to tell me you are worth the money. Why should I give you that money? You will think about everything that enter your head, any reasonable thing to say, we think about it. So that's how interview sections is. Now, another thing, now before we go into the question proper, another thing you need to understand about an interview is there are certain common questions that repeat themselves in interviews. There are certain common questions. Now, regardless of how they ask that question, regardless, and the reason I'm going this way is because I asked on the group, to lots of us, what position are we applying for? And from what I can see, majority of us here are nurses. So I'm not going to be following. I didn't see any healthcare assistants in there. So I'm going to be talking in line of nurses now. Okay. So in terms of interviews now, because I know lots of you are nurses, and there's something that they call the basic key skills of nursing. And regardless of whether you're going for theater nursing, going for mental health nursing, going for community health nursing, regardless of that, there is certain questions that even if they don't ask it even if they don't ask it in similar ways, we just know that they will ask questions possibly surrounding it. Now, questions like conflict management between you notice someone shout on you in the world, or you notice one or two of people quarreling, or just any question regarding conflict management. You know, they will ask you such type of question, and there are certain ways you just need to understand and read to go about giving that answers. Another thing they could ask you is question regarding to what are the escalation processes. Now, something like you make a drug error, what do you do? So something like you broke something, or you had a wrong documentation, what do you do? All those things are escalation process. Something like you come to the ward, you are the nurse in charge of the shifts for that day, or you are the most senior nurse in charge of the shift for that day, and you guys are short-staffed. What will you do? So these are questions regarding escalation. How do you escalate it? How do you report it? What is the systematic process of reporting it? Now, if you don't understand the systematic process of reporting things in the UK, you could say, all right, I'm going to work based on our hospital policy regarding the escalation process. Currently, where I'm working, this is how we move. We move from the juniors, we report to the supervisor, from the supervisor, we report to the director and assistant, and just like that, or your manager first. So you explain. But I believe that in different hospital settings, there are different escalation process. And all I need to do is when I get to it, I will learn the escalation process, I'll work with the escalation process of that hospital. So you don't necessarily need to cram the UK zone. Yeah, you might as well cram it, but you also can use your own current experience, but making them know that currently I am working with my hospital policy. And it's still the same thing. You're reporting to your manager. You're not just keeping it to yourself. What they want to see is you reporting to your manager. Right. So there are different processes that changes in different hospitals and different policies. So escalation process is another thing. Another thing I want to look at is how is your infection and control? Whether you're a mental health person or wherever you are, how is your infection and control policy? These are things they look out for. How do you manage such type of thing, especially when you are in the world? Now, other things they will look at is person specific questions, which includes tell me about yourself. They could change it to could you tell me a brief history of your work history, or where have you worked in the last 5 years, or can you tell me how you have been able to demonstrate your nursing skills in the past 5 years? All those things are questions like tell me about yourself. Person specifications like why would you want to work for us? What are you bringing to our company? These are person specific questions. You know that interviews are divided into three: person specific questions, company related questions, and scenario related questions. All right. Now, in the person specific questions, I've told you little things whereby they want to understand you as a person. Now, the company related question is them. See, do this person understand our company? Does this person understand the job role the person wants to go into? Does this person understand our values and goals? Does this person understand what working in the NHS entail? I mean, you want to go somewhere, you need to understand what it means. Scenario-based questions are the questions that involve those conflict management, escalation management, medication errors and calculations. What is the day-to-day activity of a nurse? What is the roles and responsibilities of a nurse? Do you understand? What is the infection and control measures? How do you manage pressure ulcers? How do you manage falls in the world? These are questions. How do you manage a patient that is critically ill? How do you manage sepsis? How do you manage post-operative patients? For someone that is in mental health, how do you manage suicidal patients? How do you manage someone that the family has come to speak to you and report something to you? How do you manage such things? How do you manage someone that's a person that has escalated? This case have escalated whereby he has a violent patient. How do you manage such a thing? How do you safeguard your patients? So safeguarding and all these questions, these are similar questions, regardless of how to twist it. You know that somehow, a nursing role covers all of this. A nursing role does what? Covers all of this. Now, if you have this understanding that regardless of the questions they ask me in an interview, I will be asked all these questions. You write them up to 10. So I will have answers in preparation for any, in case no matter how they twist it and it must fall around these 10 specific things. Even if anyone did not fall, maybe it's one strange one that does not really happen all the time. And I think if I get 9/10, it's better than getting 6/10. If you have that knowledge, it helps you go about preparing for an interview. So these are simple knowledges on how to get ready for an interview when you are prepared, knowing what to prepare. Now let's go to, it's time. I've been talking since. It's time for you to talk now. Now, I believe that many of us have been preparing for interviews and we are prepared. Even if we are not prepared, we are getting to be prepared. Or we are, at least before we apply for a job, we have idea of those jobs that we have applied for. So if I am your interviewer and I ask you, could you give me a brief explanation of yourself? How will you give me an answer? The floor is open. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, my name is Blessing Obona, so I'll just answer the question. So to answer the question, tell me about yourself. Thank you for the opportunity to explain my skills and qualification further in an interview with you. I've read your job description and I believe that my skills, qualifications, and personal attributes aligns with the essential and desirable criteria for this role. A nationally trained nurse with an extensive experience in mental health nursing. Throughout my career as a mental health nurse, I've worked in diverse settings such as the acute inpatient and outpatient settings and the community health settings, where I cared for people of all ages with diverse mental health disorders, such as psychosis, anxiety disorders, mood disorders, personality disorders. Sorry, I think network. So I'll just continue. I'll continue from I've honed my communications, my current role, I've honed my communication skills, leadership skills, decision-making skills, problem-solving skills, and critical thinking skills, which enables me to manage challenging situations. In my time as a student, I was a student leader and I was given an award for my exceptional leadership abilities. Also, recently, I was recognized by the Minister of Health in my locality for my passion in mental health nurse after I gave a presentation about the mental health of the girl child and perinatal women. I'm the type of person who is resilient, flexible, committed to professional development and growth, and I am eager to learn, and can work autonomously under pressure. I am confident in my abilities to contribute to the success of your team. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. So before I comment on what I know in the middle, you had a little bit of network hitches. But before I comment on anything, so can Rita tell me then, what do you think? How was it? What was your what do you observe that you think that she did very well? What do you think that she could work on?
I actually feel she did well. Maybe just maybe introduction. I think maybe from the introduction she came about saying instead of just introducing herself straight and be like, my name is Rita, I'm a registered nurse with over 8 years of experience, and I'm working in social place with I'm maybe with as a mental health nurse. So I just felt like maybe at the beginning part where she was saying she has read their job description, she has read their job role, and think she's fit for it. I think that's just where I felt like, but every other thing was interesting to like, you know, just what she was saying as in her talking about herself was interesting. That's what I just feel anyways.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Okay, so the way she went about it, just like Nosenyola has stated on, because she said she's at work, she did really well. In as much as she started, it doesn't matter if she started from saying that I have read through your job role and your job description, and I feel like I am qualified for the job. So yes, she did well, and there's really nothing wrong with that. Some people can just go straight to say, oh, okay, thank you so much for that. My name is this, that, that. It's fine. The most important thing is that when you are going for this type of question, you should tend to focus on important things. And one thing, just like Ms. Enyola as stated here, is the fact that from what I can understand from the way she has responded, she is going for a mental health nurse job. And so she has experience in the mental health field, and she has highlighted her skills. She not only talk about, okay, having read through your job and job description, I feel like I am the right person for the job. My name is this, that, and I graduated from this university. I have taken care of people of mental health, of various age differences, and for various health conditions. So meaning that she's telling them, I am capable. Now, that is a tick, because in a mental health job, she told them, I have experience. So I have taken care of people with this, and she did not need to start talking about so many things. Some people will mention up to 50. You don't need to mention so much. 4 is enough, which includes this, that, this, and so many other cases which I have taken care of all through my years of practice. I have honed a skill in communication. She talked about she honing a skill in leadership, and she did not just talk about the fact that she honed the leadership skills, because some people could say, oh, so I have a good communication skills, I have a good leadership skills, I am flexible, I am this. So what? Almost up to 10 people will come and say the same thing. But she did not only say that, she went first to say, I have honed leadership skills. And the way I've demonstrated this is in my job, my previous job, when I was a student or this, I was recently awarded for a good quality leadership skills. She also talked, and she did not talk about, okay, so one day I went to go and care for my patient did that. She doesn't need to go into so much lengthy details. Oh, I have a good communication skills. In so many situations, my patients have commented on how I have calmly communicated and helped in resolving their issues. I'm someone that is flexible. I always believe that we need to be flexible, or we need to be able to give our best and help, especially in terms of the world when the world is short. I'm someone that has a good interpersonal skills. My main motto in life is that together we shall stand and divided we shall fall. So, like all these hot points, you don't need to start going so much deep into it. Well, you made them know that not only am I just saying these things, I have an understanding of what I am saying. I have the fact that I know what I am saying. I have it. I'm not just saying it because I have read it. And not only is she adding that, she did not start talking about, like, some people, if I tell me about yourself now, they will say, okay, I have good communication skills. I have good, they will measure up to 10. You don't need to do that. And again, they want to start talking, going too deep. This is just a preamble. It's more of like a starting question. So they still have other questions they'll definitely ask you along the line. It's not also the time maybe you start telling them, oh, and this what happened. So a friend of mine happened to this, and so I have to think about this. You now start giving them scenario-based question. No, just a brief summary. Oh, this, they have commented on this. More like an evaluation example rather than talking about the whole process. More of like an evaluation. When I mean an evaluation, meaning the results. So in terms of communication, oh, my patient has once commended me on the way I handled their situation. That was the result. He did not tell them, this thing happened to my patient, this one happened to my patient, this happened to my patient, that happened to my patient, and then this was what I did. That part is meant for scenario-based questions. It's not meant to be given at this stage. You understand? Okay, I'm someone that believes in, I've spoken about teamwork, whereby you just go straight to bed. I always believe divided we fall, together we stand. And so I give my best to work as a team. Short. You understand? So she talked about that, which was quite good. And she went with the evaluation ways, whereby you don't need to talk too much. She just said, okay, I was once commended on this, and that was fine. She went straight to the point. And then I don't know if she added the part of now remember, I said something that when you are talking about all these values that she has said, you don't need to say so many, maybe 3 is okay, or 4. But make sure that those values are among the essential criteria, essential values, essential skills that they want to see. Okay, so rather than even using the word communication, you can twist it to say, I have a calm approach and I tend to relate well with my patients. You understand? You don't need to use the same word. They're always synonyms to swap a word around with. You understand what I'm trying to explain? Now, also, once you have spoken about that, you've talked about where you school, you've talked about your work. In the work, you summarize your vastness in understanding on the care you've given as well. You've talked about your valued skills and how you've honed it and all of that. Then probably if you want to add the values or your personal values, it's not even the most that you say my personal values relates with your values. You could simply say that my I always have this value of this in making sure that this, that. And I believe that if I bring it to your company, it's also going to relate, also improve the goals of the organization. You can always twist it. You understand? Just the most important thing is you are hitting the points they want to hear. And so to me, I personally think she has done well in explaining the fact that she is an experienced nurse, mental health nurse. I believe she's going for a mental health nurse role. I also believe that she has used the evaluation examples, and she has also, so it was quite short and straight to the point. But if you have other things that you want to sell, like you want to sell other things in regards, maybe you want to talk about your professional development, which is another thing I love to encourage people to talk about, because professional development is what people want to see, that not only are you just comfortable with the status quo, you're also keen on developing yourself. So if you know you have gotten other skills and you've, apart from just your normal work, you've gone to do CPD trainings and you've gotten BLS and so many other trainings or certificates, you can add that I have huge taste for knowledge and I have gone further to get my degree in this, this, and that. Simple and straightforward. It's already made them know that you've got that taste for knowledge. So I believe she has done well in regards to that. Just if you can add professional development in line with what you have said, that will go a really long way in helping to make it a perfect thing. Now, someone will ask me, what if I am a community health nurse and I'm applying for the role of a theater nurse? Can it work? Or what if I am a theater nurse? I am caring for a role of somebody in community health. Or what if I am a medical nurse and I want to care for people in the surgical units. How will I be able to bring this in? I mean, I don't have experience in that unit, but I'm applying for the job in that unit. So how do I sell myself so that when they actually tell me about myself, at least I can chip something in that will kind of relate? Now, is anybody in this space having such type of interview? Like where you are applying for is not where you're currently working. And do you want to tell me about yourself? Let's see how we can help in correcting you. Does anyone have such?
Yeah, yes.
All right, so go ahead. Let's listen to you.
So that like the role I'm applying for is for a staff nurse in a hyperacute stroke unit, which I've never worked before. I work in normal medical surgical units, but not on the hyperacute stroke units. Okay, so I will try to see what I can do so you can correct me.
All right, go on.
My name is Beauty Onyeche. I'm an overseas trained nurse with 8 years of clinical practice in various units, like the accident and emergency units, medical unit, like main medical, free medical, outpatient departments, and various units within these 8 years of practice. I am trained at diploma and degree level, and I've also advanced my knowledge in some certification courses like the BLS, ACLS, infection control certification, and many others. I'm someone that is reliable, which has been evidenced in those 8 years of practice within my workplace when need be. And I'm flexible, knowing the importance of flexibility in a health setting, how it helps to achieve the unit's goal by like covering up the units when we are short staff, and I've been recognized as one. And last year I was awarded I was given an award as the most effective team member in my current workplace. I've seen the job I've read the job specification, and I know I align perfectly with this. Someone who has worked in various units, as I said earlier, someone who can work in a high turnover area. When I was working in A&E, is a very busy unit with high turnover, and I've been able to withstand high pressure in such units because I understand that most patients rush to the units are unstable, and you need someone stress and at the same time concentrate to deliver high quality care. This is what I can remember in my head now. I don't know if I made any sense.
Okay.
I'm trying to use the essential I read in the job specification. I don't know if I didn't make any sense.
Okay. You have tried. So does anybody want to add, like, or help her to probably correct or comment on something she has done?
Okay, I'm just going to say a quick one. I'm at work, as I said. I think there is a need to highlight that we're willing to learn because it's a new environment entirely, and being quick to learn, and how other people in time past has identified that we were quick to learn and adapt to new situations, challenging situations, or even a new world environment. We can add that to it. That's all I can say right now.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Does any other person want to add anything just before I make a comment?
Okay, I just feel like I think there is a community setting that she's talking about. While we're doing normal diploma nursing, we usually go for community postings. So I think she can achieve that thing somehow. That while they're going to training, we have community experiences, something like that. I don't know.
Good. Thank you. So you all have spoken well. You've spoken well, and for what I can say, you are beginning to understand what this "Tell Me About Yourself" is all about. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to have an experience in the field that you want to embark on. Now, let me go back to our lady that spoke. First, one thing I noticed is you were trying to cram. Number one problem in "Tell Me About Yourself" is when you cram, because it could be twisted. And because you have crammed, it might not be tell me about yourself, they ask you. They could ask you in another way, but because you have twisted it, you just become a bit lost. Oh, this is how I crammed this. No. Having an understanding of what they want. Just have the understanding of what they want. And know that, okay, in what they want, I will touch this, that. Makes you to be able to be flexible. And just like everyone here have mentioned, you've had experience in community health. The other lady spoke about you. What did she say? Oh God, I've forgotten. No, Sonia, what did you say again? I'm trying to remember. There was a point you made that
Flexibility and
yes,
adaptive skills, quick
flexibility
to
and
learn.
adaptability. Thank you so much. So with those facts, and you also understanding the fact that that's not your main units, okay? So when you are going about this thing, say fine, you went directly to just introduce yourself, which is also good. Your name is that. You can also say based on the fact that I have. If you want to go through the other way the former lady went through, fine. If you want to go straight the way you went through, beautiful, fine. If you introduce yourself, my name is this, that. I'm a nurse and I've had so many years of experience, which is quite long, which you have said, which is good. Normally, if you have just one, don't even say it. Don't even mention the year. But if you have enough, that's fine. You can mention it, yeah. And you mentioned the fact that you have during this period, you've worked in the medical surgical units. Good. Now, you mentioned the fact that before you even start talking about preparing for Tell Me About Yourself, you must have read and understood what those people in a hyperactive stroke unit do that is similar to what you do in your medical surgical ward. And I will tell you, there are so many. Someone that is experiencing stroke is a medical patient. Yeah? So stroke is a medical condition. It's not even a surgical condition. So one way or the other, you must have experienced similar patients. Someone that is experiencing things that can relate or probably result into stroke, like hypertension, like diabetes. You understand? Someone that is having hyperplasia, that cannot move himself. All this could be found in a medical related wards. All right. And so while you're talking about, I have worked in a medical related unit and I've taken care of patients that have this, that. And these are related to patients who can be found in a hyper stroke unit, because that's in this place we offer medical and hyper related care. I have honed skills in that's where you can bring in the fact that you have, like this lady said, the part of the flexibility, whereby I'm someone so when you're mentioning your qualities, one of the qualities you want to impute there is your flexibility and quick to learn. I'm someone that is flexible and quick to learn. I know that I'm currently working in a medical unit, but I'm someone that has had opportunity in learning new things as quick as possible. And I know that if I'm being moved to this unit, because of the fact that I have had experience in handling almost similar conditions related to hyperflexibility unit, I am fast in learning such skills and I will be adaptable in such environment. Now, I'm someone that has also worked or during my community days, maybe before you talk about the qualities, yeah? If you're talking about where you have worked, I'm working in this particular place, I've taken care of these patients, the one that's having the medical, the hyperplasia and all of that. And these are similar related to patients that you could find in hyperacute, whatever the place that you applied for a job for. Okay, so you have said it's related because these are similar conditions that are handled there. You can also add, also in my community health days, I have been or during my internship, I have been opportune to be posted to communities whereby I have taken care of such patients, and I did this for over 3 years. Now, that bracket, that second paragraph on its own has covered the fact that in as much as I am not working in that unit, I have taken care of patients that are related in that unit. I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying. So yes, you have introduced yourself. Yes, you have talked about where you school. Now you're talking about how many years you've done your experience. Now in the part of where you are talking about what you have done, like your experience in terms of your skills, in terms of the patients you've handled, that's where you're talking about. I think your patients, you'll be so selective with the type of example you are giving. You make sure that you're going to go and research that these patients are kind of similarly related. You understand? So you talk about, so in a medical unit, I think your patient, you just need to mention 3 or 4. And this could similarly found in a hypercondition. So I know I am prepared for this role. I am someone that has also been opportune to be an intern in the community health setting. You are still talking about your experience of what you have done. After that, you don't need to go too deep. All these are short entrance. They are just letting them have a smell of you, a taste of you. They will yearn for more. You cannot give when a guy wants to toast a girl, or when a girl wants to give a guy shakara, you don't do everything at one step. You'll be giving them small. Let them have more taste of you. Yeah, they want to yearn for more. You understand? So they are smelling you small. So that's why they will not be expecting, they will be seeing you as someone that is a potential. You understand? So now you finish that part talking about your experience. You are now moving to the fact of my skills. You talk about the fact that you are flexible. You talk about the fact that you look for other skills. If you're someone that is taking care of someone that's got stroke, you need to know how to communicate and have patience. You understand, or know how to communicate in different ways, because you know how stroke patients are. And as a nurse, normally these are skills you should have, regardless of where you are working. So those skills, you already have them. You look at it in the essential criteria, and then you add the flexibility part, because you've been able to float into other units in terms of emergencies. And so you were able to learn quickly. So you believe that regardless of where you are posted, regardless of the fact that you're moving to a new unit, you are fit and you've taken care of, you're fit to be able to float it, and also because you've handled similar cases before. You understand? Before you now start talking about how you have huge taste of knowledge and how you've gone further to have further degree. So you believe that if you are given the opportunity to work in similar units, you'll be able to learn more about such condition and care for them to the standard that they require in their trusts, before you now add your values attached to it. So it's all about how you twist it. If you're someone that is a surgical nurse and want to apply to a theater place, your main focus will be on pre and post-operative care and consent. So when you are talking about cases you've handled, those three that you mentioned, those four, it should be similarly related. You should not be talking about something that is in Abuja and when you should be trying to relate to something that is in Sokoto. There's a way. If you are a midwife and you want to apply for a surgical ward, you should be talking about how you cared for pregnant women that are having CS pre and post. I don't mean you should go into details. So remember what I say, you're not supposed to start going into details. You just need to mention it 1, 2, 3, 4. Let them know that these things are also related to the cases that they find in where they are. So somehow the medical fields are kind of related. If you're caring for someone in the community, or if you're applying for a community health job and you're a medical nurse in the hospital, what do you see in the community? People that have diabetes, people that are having wound ulcers, people that have hypertension, and these are medical related cases. You have handled them. It's not something that is new. You do wound dressing, you do all of that. So meaning that you can definitely handle that. You do catheterization. So meaning you can handle a community health-based setting patients, because it's not new to you anymore. So this enables you to know how to interact, know how to handle such questions when you are asked. And also adding some things, just like our fellow nurses here have mentioned, things like you've had posting. Remember when you are working in as a nurse, they are sent everywhere. Community, mental health. If I'm even a medical nurse, I want to apply for mental health nurse, I will highlight my mental health posting that I went for. The way I will sell that mental health posting, only God knows. You understand? You highlight it. You highlight places that are kind of related, but you don't need to go deep, like I say, so that you do not tell me about yourself. Question should not take more than 3 minutes. You don't need to talk for too long, so that you will not take too much time. So hope I've been able to explain that very well. Where is she? Hope I've been able to explain that very well.
Yes, thank you so much.
Right. So that's how you go. But you need to still make sure you go about your you need to understand the job description and find things that are relatable and use it to sell yourself. Okay. So if anybody here feel like they don't understand, you can ask before we go forward. If not, forever, that's the end of Tell Me About Yourself question. So I'll just ask you guys a few other questions. All right. So other questions that they could ask you is, let me go to questions that they've asked people previously in the past. Okay, so like this one now, they ask you, tell me where you work and how it is significant to the role you are applied for. Yeah, they are telling you to tell them about your work history. You understand? And what are you doing currently? So you are a nurse now. You are working as a nurse, and you still want to work as a nurse. So it's all about still tell me about yourself. Okay, that question. So now let me look for questions about the trust. Now, if someone asks you, could you tell me why you are interested in working for our trust? Who can tell me how you go about answering that question? Answer it and tell me how you went about answering that question. Why did you apply for this job? And why do you want to work for our trust? Let me call somebody. So can I have One Victor answer the question? Can you tell me why you apply for this job? Okay, and why you want to work for our trust or for our hospital?
Hello.
Sorry, go on. Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
I said the question again, please. You said why I did what?
My question to you is, why did you apply for this job? And why do you want to work for that hospital? Like I'm your interviewer now. So please, could you tell me why you applied for this job role and why you want to work with our trust? Why our trust? And why did you apply for the job?
All right. So why I applied for the role? Why I applied for the job? I will highlight the person's specification. Like I will highlight the person's specification highlighted in the job and state how I fit into the role. How I fit or how I have those attributes or those criteria, those characteristics. Then I will also highlight the job role. Then for the trust, the trust itself, I will say some certain things that relate to the trust that I've read about or that I've researched about.
Sincerely, I did not hear you very well. I did not hear you. I don't know if it's your network or it's my own network, but I couldn't hear what you said very well.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can now. Let me pull my ear closer.
I said for the job role, why I applied for the job, I will highlight the job role, job description, and state how I fit into the job description. Then state the person's specification and also highlight how I fit into the person's specification. Then for why I applied to the trust or why I want to work in the trust, I will state some certain things that I've researched about the trust. Maybe if there's any important thing that is done in the past, any award that they have. Or I can also use their CPC rating, care quality commission, something their rating. And I'll speak about I'll use that and also highlight what I want to work.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So most of the time, like the first answer you gave, that one will fit much better in when they ask you, why do you think you are the best person for the job? That one, they just finish them. You tell them that number one, you go with your job role. Your job role demands the role to be a nurse. And that's, I am a nurse. It demands someone that is a specific, you use the best specification, demands someone that is goal-oriented, someone that is focused, someone that is this. I have demonstrated this in different phases of my work. In one of my certain area, I did this, I did that, and I was able to achieve this. So this is where they're asking you why you think you are the best person for the role. Then you will go that way you went about. Now, if they ask you, why did you apply for the job? Okay, or why you apply for our trust? Your second answer you gave will probably have fitted it more. Now, why? You could go through talking about, just like someone gave an answer on the chat, because I'm also reading everybody's chat as well too. So someone gave, like Enila said, she will mention that she's a goal-oriented person and always wants to work with the values of the establishment I find myself to. I apply for this job because having read the value of the trust, I see that they align with mine. I don't used to like that initial something because I feel like everybody uses it too much. I also mentioned how I have passion for the job and would like an opportunity to contribute to the trust and achieve the goal of the trust. Okay. Someone just said this is where the trust value comes in and their CQC rating. Now, when you're answering that question, why did you apply to this particular trust? So rather than going straight to start from answering them the question of why you applied for the role, you could start with answering them with why you applied for the trust, which you talk about, oh, I've been through your trust this thing, your trust that's their CQC rating or any achievement that you notice the trust have been, or maybe the location. And I noticed that it's in, maybe you want to use the location. I noticed that it's in a friendly environment. I've had people or my friends who have worked with this trust before, and they have commended how this trust has gone further to help not only the staff, but also the patient at large. Then you now start talking about, I am someone that would want to work in such a trust that are not only just job oriented, but they are also patient centered. It's closely aligned with the kind of person I am, because I believe that whatever I am, we should always give the best to our patients or our clients. Why I apply for this role is not, you're not talking about you now, you now start talking about the job itself. I apply for this role because I am passionate for this role. I am someone that loves, if it's, let's say for example, theater nurse now. I'm someone that loves to care for patients post-operatively and pre-operatively. It's something that I feel like it's part of me. I always want to help them, especially because whenever most of these clients, they are scared. You just go, most of these clients, they are scared of the outcome. Most of these clients, they are scared of what will happen to them. And I really love to be that person that will stand in the gap to tell them that I am there for them. It's at that point, while you apply for this job, you should be talking about your passion for the role of that job you are applying for. I'm not talking about, I have read your job role, my job is closely aligned with your role. This one, no, that's not where you talk about that. Where you are talking about that is you, when they ask you, why did you apply for this job? You should be talking about your passion for that role. Your passion, how, in fact, is your all and all. And they ask you, why are you applying for learning and disability? You can even give personal example, whereby I'm someone that loves to care for people that are disabled or some people that are in need. This has started ever since I went for an outreach community and I was opportune to see or care for similar people. I've told myself ever since that this is the field I want to go to, and I have gone further to get this degree, learn this and learn that, to prepare myself for this kind of situations. Then if you have any family related or family member that have a condition that is like that and probably started from that condition, you can start giving example of how maybe it started from your family member, how you started caring for them, and how ever since you care for them, although whether they died at the end or not die at the end, you say bless them. But ever since then, I've always wanted to now help people at large, people of similar conditions. You understand? So at that stage, you are demonstrating your passion for that role. In fact, the way you will say that passion, even they themselves, they want to give you the job, because then they know that you understand that, and that's why it's important that whatever role that you're applying for, whatever job you're applying for, you understand that job that you're applying for. So at that point, you are giving them passion for that role. And the part of why you're applying for the trust, you must mention something, either you're mentioning the values or you're mentioning something about their CQC rating or something the trust have achieved recently, or maybe where it's located, or maybe a family member of yours is working there and what they have mentioned that the trust has achieved or has done, and how you'd like to work in such environments. So these are ways you can answer such questions. So you can see I've given two answers to two different questions. If you are asked such questions in different situations, if you are asked together, this is how you go about answering that question. Do we understand? Any question?
Yes, please, I have a question.
Go on.
I've had an opportunity where I was asked a question, like they didn't ask me in line with my role. Rather, they asked me working with the trust generally. Like I remember when the interviewer asked me, said, why do you want to work in the Highland? That's NHS Highland in Scotland. So I was actually thrown off balance because he did not really relate it to the role I was applying for. Then it was a learning disability role. He didn't say, why do you want to work as a nurse in learning disability? But rather, I said, why do you want to work in the Highland? So I was confused at that point. I didn't know how
In
I
the
was going to
island or
answer.
in Scotland?
NHS Ireland in Scotland. So,
So
not
that's
just
the name of
asking.
is that the name of the trust?
No, that's not the name of the trust. I think the NHS Highland has different trusts on different hospitals under it.
So
So the one I
NHS
was
Ireland, the
Mm.
if it's NHS Scotland, I just want to be sure, like you're not mixing the stuff up. NHS Scotland, NHS Scotland is different from NHS England. NHS Scotland is the Scotland, like the NHS, the NHS that governs the whole Scotland. You understand? So they have different hospitals there. Similar in Ireland, Northern Ireland. So other Northern Ireland as well too. Northern Ireland is divided into different places there. So in that places, they have different trusts too that manages the different places. So which one were they asking you?
He just said, why do you want to work in the Highland? Because then I had to interview. One was NHS Highland, one was NHS Grampian, both in Scotland.
Both in Scotland. So probably he's
Yes.
asking you why you want to, just like somebody asking you why you want to work in that environment, right?
I think that I was really confused. That's the truth. So I was confused. I didn't know how to relate it.
So first and foremost, if you are confused in an interview, ask them, please, I do not understand your question. Do you mean why I want to work in this trust? Or do you mean why I want to work in this environment? That's number one thing you need to get home today. Because in an interview session, if you do not understand, you will give an off answer. And they will not take it the fact that it's because you do not understand. Because they believe that if you do not understand, you should ask questions. Oh, I'm sorry, please, can you explain what you mean? Do you understand? So now, because I could be giving you an answer, but that could not also be what they meant. So if they're asking you why you want to work in NHS Scotland, there is a principle and value that surrounding the NHS. The NHS has a value. There's NHS values. So at this time now, I believe everybody should go and learn what the NHS values are and have it written down on the NHS values. Okay, so that you can know what is the key goal the NHS wants to achieve, and you can use that to respond to that question. The goals of NHS. Number one, they are patient-centered. They are about education and research. You understand? They are about education and training of their staff. They are about making sure like equality is achieved. So understanding that will enable you answer that question. Now, another thing that you want to know is, you now also mentioned Scotland. You could also, like now, if I'm applying for an interview, I will not only browse about the trust, I will browse about the environment that I want to go and stay in. You understand? And this is quite easy though. I think you might not even browse about everything. You will have an idea of what to say. You understand? You just talk about, oh, and I've also had families that live in Scotland. They talk about how peaceful Scotland is. You understand? And this is similar to the environment where I currently live in. I'm someone that would like to live in a place that is quite calm and not as busy as the other everyday life. I also understand the fact that Scotland has a growing diverse community, and I believe it will enable me to adapt very well to that environment. Understand? I've also heard that Scottish people are nice and friendly. Everybody loves to work with friendly people. You understand? So this could be additional thing you add when they tell you why you want to work in NHS Scotland. But if there's something you know about Scotland that you really, or if maybe if you're a fan of maybe Scottish football, you say, I'm a fan of Scottish football. I long to live in the place where I'm a fan of football.
I mean,
You understand?
Grandma is calling you. So don't hear grandma they call you.
So it's very important that when you are answering such questions, you have knowledge of what is this is not so many information. I don't like this is not so many information. When you're preparing for an interview, have an idea of NHS value. Okay. Have an idea of nursing roles and responsibilities. All right. Have an idea of clinical governance. All right. Yeah. Clinical governance. Have an idea of clinical governance. Now, once you've had an idea of clinical governance, have an understanding of the trust you are applying for. And have an understanding of the environment you're trusting. Those 5 things, in case they ask you about, tell me why you're applying to that environment, tell me why you're applying to the trust, tell me why you want to work for the NHS, what do you know about clinical governance, tell me about the value of being a nurse. You already have this as your fingertips. And you know the beautiful thing about all of this I've mentioned? All of them are related. So you don't need to cram, you don't need to say everything. All of them are related. All of them are related. Clinical governance is related to NHS values. Some of the things in clinical governance are related to what NHS values. So you can easily relate. You can freestyle. What I've told you now, I have not read it for the past how many years, but I know that's the answer. Regardless of how they want to twist it, I know that is the answer. They should open their books today. I know I'm correct. You understand? I know I'm correct. Why the NHS, regardless where the NHS is in this life, wherever they go, they are concerned about patients. Wherever, no matter what they want to do, they are concerned about staff development. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in the NHS. They're concerned about staff development. They're concerned about research. They are concerned about equality. They're concerned about making the environment safe for people. It's just the normal goal of every hospital. It's just for you to have an idea of this is what they're talking about. Why do you want to work in? So long it's not London, you have an idea that the northern part of the UK is calm. If it's places like London and the south, you know those places are crazy. So you can start talking about you like living in a place that have busy and very, very active environments. That's if you're applying to places like London. You already know what those places are all about. That gives you an idea of what you want to apply for. So if you apply to a country, you must understand that the northern part of the UK is calm. London is heavy. The southern part is crazy as well too. But the Midland and the northern part is chilled and much more conservative in terms of their lifestyle. So when you're answering the question, you will know, am I answering the bustling part or am I answering the conservative area? So that's how you know. Okay. Any other question?
Okay, thank you very much.
I hope I answered your question. I did not just run away from the
Yes,
answer.
you answered it actually.
Yeah,
No,
so that's
no,
how you
thank
go
you.
about.
You
So
answered it.
you having
Yeah.
a knowledge of the NHS, number one, and having the knowledge of Scotland. So you talk about the values, number one, and then you now end up with why you love to work in Scotland. And to be fair, Scotland are quite peaceful as well. So that's a way to give you an answer to that question. Now, so that's when you're talking about. So
Okay,
that's when.
please ask another one.
Okay, go on.
Currently now, normally, I know they always say that we should try as much as possible to read our piercing specification to understand what they are expecting from us, just like what you've told us. But currently now, in the interview I just got now, I didn't really see anything as piercing specification. The only thing I saw was job description where they highlighted their roles, responsibilities, their dimensions, and their purposes.
There's
Those were the
person
things I saw. I don't know
specification.
if that's going to be enough for me.
Are you sure? Which is it an NHS trust or is it just a private job or something?
No, it's an NHS trust. It's
Yeah,
an
it's
NHS
person
trust in Scotland.
specification.
It's also Scotland again.
Yeah, Scotland has
I
person
searched, I did
specification.
not see.
There's person.
In this
Read the whole
particular,
document. At times, it's in the job description book. You see it towards the end, or at times it has its own link towards the end of the application. Its own particular link there. They normally put this person specification because I need to know what you want to know if I have it. If I don't have it, I will not apply. You understand? So there's always a person specification on what they want in NHS Scotland. So check the last button or in the job description paper on its own. Or check, there will probably be more than one document written there. You will see the essential and desirable criteria. It's part of their HR requirements. You cannot put out a job role without having a person specification. How will people know what? Or if you do not see it there, another way you can see it is if you go to, please, I say about this job, that whole description that they wrote, not the documents now that you download. Yeah, someone just told you, read the job advert. I was about to say it. You read that job advert, all those many, many things that they wrote there in the job advert. You will see it there. They don't, at times, they will not even put it as a link. They will write it in between those things. They'll write it there. It's there.
Okay.
Yes. Those long things about the job, when you click on the job, in the job advert itself, they will write it somewhere there. It's in there, what they want, the person they want. It's there.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll search for it. Thank you.
So it gives you an idea of that. Yeah. Any other question? All right. So let me look for another question.
Sorry, ma, please. There's a question I typed on the chat. You didn't respond to that.
Okay. Please, is it the one that you said? How can one demonstrate an understanding of governance, standard arrangements, drivers, understanding of group dynamics?
Yes, ma'am. There, that's it.
You asked this question one. There are so many. This is not one question. How do you demonstrate an understanding of governance, standard arrangement, drivers, understanding of group dynamics, team working, demonstrate up-to-date clinical evidence, demonstrate patient-centered care in an interview? All this thing is all about depending on the question they ask you, to be fair, anything that demonstrates. But I'm trying to remember that acronym. There's a popular acronym everybody used to use. So you talk about the situation or the tax that's happened or what happened. Then you talk about that's the situation of what happened. Then you move, thank you very much. Situation, the word is start, thank you. Situation, the tax, the action, and then the result. So this is all about S is situations, what happened in that particular situation. You talk about it. You talk about the tax, what you had to do. What were you supposed to do? A is now your actions. What did you now do? Then the last question is, what was now the result of what you had done? You understand? So when they're asking you about patient-centered care or whatever thing, patient-centered care or whatever thing that you should do, you should talk about how you have demonstrated this. This is just how that's one alone is what you need to answer. In any situation they ask you, can you tell me how you have done this? Can you tell me how you have done this? Can you tell me how you've offered a patient-centered care? Oh, as a nurse, I think offering patient-centered care is what we do all the time in every part of our life. But I want to reference a certain particular situation where I went on and beyond for my patients. You understand? You know, talk about, I once had a patient that had cancer. Now I'm using the situation of what happened recently with me and the patient of mine. So very sure, I once had a patient that had cancer. This was a newly diagnosed cancer that he had. And I noticed that every time I go in to give him his medication, he's always in a low mood and always requires somebody to talk to. At times, I noticed that I spend up to 30 minutes just trying to speak to him, to get him in the mood or get him to relate. So I realized that I needed to do something. What did I need to do? I needed to refer him to a psychological team and also the cancer team, who will have a plan to come and relate with him and probably create a good therapy for him so as to make him adjust to this new diagnosis, as I understood that the diagnosis is new for him and it was quite scary and scary. I also understood the fact that I had to plan a schedule within my busy schedule to have a time to chat with him and also see how I can incorporate his family if they needed to be there for him. So I went about doing a referral. Now I'm talking about my actions. I went about doing a referral for him. I went about relating and speaking to my ward manager to see if she can allow this man to have more flexible time. His family to have, hey, who is that? Mute yourself, please. To see if he can have more flexible time to be able to come in and visit him all the time so that he will not feel lonely at all times. I also made sure that within my time schedule, I try to, whenever I step in, I go in with a smiley face and try to interact with him just to alleviate his mood and make sure that other of my team members go in there to put in a smiley face on him once in a while. How was the result? So the result of my action resulted in the team referral working, and they come in and they created a good detailed plan for him, and he was able to adjust to his new diagnosis. By the time he left the ward, he was so grateful and wrote a letter of thanks to our ward. Simple. That was a beautiful patient-centered care. So nursing as a whole is what you do on a daily basis. Okay? I'm also a nurse. So nursing, what I just told you now happened last week where I'm working. Is what you do, is who you are, is what you have been doing for years. It's what every day to say. So it's something that someone wake you up in the morning and say, what did you do yesterday in the hospital? It's something you can easily just relate with. Even if it's to go as far as helping patient or apologize to the patient or helping patient to resolve a tiny little bit, or even going further to going there to look for creams to help a patient resolve a problem, or going further to speak to a certain staff that you notice was not very kind to a patient. All this is all patients okay, or going further to just stay with a patient and speak to them calmly about what, or giving them attention. Anything is part of nursing. when I was in interview for the job role that I'm currently working, I was just giving them the example I was giving them was something that recently happened, It was just flowing because it's something I did and something I could relate with. So it was just natural, flowing. There was no need of having to crack my brain. I did not even crack my brain for any example because anything that they just ask, I already have the understanding. If you go for an interview with the understanding that regardless of the question I am asked, I have encountered it in my life before. The same how I went for my IELTS that year, I realized the fact that even if they ask you any question in IELTS, just relate it to your everyday life and you pass. Same as the same nursing questions. So any scenario-based question, relate it to your everyday practice. Something as things that does not make, even the fact that you go forward to give patient plan, this patient-centered care. You understand? So there's a way you arrange it, but remember to use the STAR technique in giving answer to that question. Information guiding, the governance standard is information guidance I'm talking about. It involves patient-centered care, infection and control. So you just pick one or two and explain how have you ensured infection and control. You do that every day as well. Washing your hand, telling fellow staff to wash their hand, teaching patients the importance of washing hand in hand hygiene and all of that. You understand? So telling patients where it's time to use protective something, you use it and you try to tell other staff the importance of it. And also, wherever you notice some doctors are not keeping up to standard, you follow the right techniques to ensure that they keep up to standard and make sure that the equipment's ready are there in front of the ward for everybody to use. How do you ensure staff training and development? You talk about how seminars, how you go about joining committees, informing seminars and all of that, and how you go about your own personal study and developing yourself and your skills. Patient involvement. You try to involve patient and family involvement are part of information guidance. You talk about how you involve patients and their family. The patient wants them to be involved in their care. Make patient feel like he's an individual. Make the patient feel like he's someone that, even if I'm in the hospital, I'm still a human being. I'm not incapacitated. Make them be involved in their everyday care. Don't make, before you do anything, get an informed verbal consent from a patient, even if it's as much as opening their curtains. You say, can I come in, please? I don't know if they do it in Nigeria. I know in the UK, that's what you're expected to do. And normally, that's the standard of practice. And if Nigerians can implement it, Nigerians can implement it to be beautiful. Because that's how you're supposed to act on a normal basis. Professional and standard. Before you even talk to a patient, you should be polite. You understand? So these are all patient involvement in their care. Before you tell a patient family about the patient, you need to go and ask the patient for permission to talk about the patient. These are all patient and family involvement care. And these are answers. These are everything we do. These are something we know. Whether we practice or not, it's something we know we should do. So these are ways to answer all those simple questions. I call them simple questions, to be fair. So that's it. Is there any other question? Let me look for one tough question so that we can.
Please, I have a question. Please, I have a question. Good evening, ma'am. Please, I want to ask that when you have been asked a question, are you supposed to stop talking or should wait for the person interviewing you to stop you? Do you stop talking on your own? Like if I'm being asked about myself and I'll be talking for like about 2 minutes, do I need to say thank you and stop, or I should wait for them to stop me?
Say thank you and stop. You should not talk for too long. You bore me. Okay. If it's me, you'll bore me out. I will just yawn in your presence. It's just the truth. Okay, so the thing is, when you are talking about me about yourself, don't beat around the bush. It's very important. Because there's something that they call, there's something they call head overload, a knowledge overload or information overload. If the information you're giving me too much, I will lose the important one you have said. And that's why there's a strategy. Everything, there's a strategy. I just told you about the STAR technique. So people already know about it. For demo, when you're talking about demonstrate, describe, those are anything situation-based questions. Those are how you go about it. Tell me about yourself. It's just the thing about yourself. Me, if I'm answering that question, I imagine myself, I'm writing a book in a paragraph. My first paragraph, I will introduce myself, my degree, and all of that. My second paragraph, I'll talk about my job experience, whereby I'm talking about the patients I've handled. I just speak 4. I don't need to talk too much. Or 4 relevancy. When you are giving it should be relevant, very important. Things that are related to what the job role is all about and what the specification is all about. And also how, if you don't have experience in that field, but something that can interrelate and interject together. I know the next one, probably like that lady that talked about the community, you can add it as the following paragraph. Then I know the next one I'm talking about my skills. The next one I'm talking about what are they calling it? My taste for knowledge, what I've done, further degree. The next one I'm talking about my personal goals, what I want to achieve if you give opportunity to come to you. So all of that, I've finished talking about me by myself. I don't need to talk so much. When I finish, thank you. With a smiling face. Simple. I've sold myself. So I'm all about selling myself. I'm not all about talking. I don't want to give you too much information. I want you to smell me. You don't need to eat me. Yeah, just smell me. Slowly, you will begin to eat me. You don't even need to eat me. You should be yearning for me after the interview. If after the interview I've gotten the job, I did not meet up the standard, I don't care because I've already gotten the job. You understand? So you should want me. You should want me, hunger for me. And then so they don't have to stop you, but sincerely speaking, you should just not to talk. Or you should talk, not like not to talk. You should talk, but and then say thank you very much. I mean, like I said, this is a person. Should not be more than 2 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes is enough. You understand? 3 minutes is enough. Why should you be looking for over 5 minutes? So tell me about yourself. 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes. For something like a slow. Give yourself 5 minutes. But don't let them come in to stop you. You understand? To me, just like you're still talking, I said maybe you have not hit your valid points. Do not say, oh, okay, all right, thank you so much for that. They might not even stop because they're trying to be polite. And these people too, they are doing their job. And the interview session is being recorded. So they don't want the fact that you will not file a report of them. Maybe you will not file a report of them being unfair to you. They will not check. They will not say that they were really unfair to you. So even they themselves are doing their job. So they too, they are very, very conscious, of what they are doing with you. You understand? But I mean, 3 to 5 minutes is okay for telling me about yourself. Just practice it. That's all.
Sorry, I have another question. So please, I want to ask that, is it after each question, when you have been asked a question, that you say thank you for the question, and after answering that, you still say thank you for the question?
That's just being polite.
Thank you after.
If you don't want to say it, your choice. But that's just being polite. Even they themselves, they will tell you thank you. So everybody says thank you abroad. So you should just think it's not a big deal. I mean, thank you for the question. All right. Okay. If you don't want to say it's your choice, but me, I'm naturally used to saying, okay, thank you very much. All right, thanks. It's just being polite. It makes them feel, I don't know, there's this thing that thank you sends to you, sends to the person's body. It sends them in that this person is very professional and respectful. It's not as if they'll shoot gun in your head. You don't do it though. It's just being cautious. That's all. And I don't know, it's just being nice. That's the word. But at the end of the day, they'll say, oh, she's such a lovely girl, isn't she? So lovely. That's it. And if I'm the one interviewing you,
thank you.
That's nice. At least she was so respectful. Yeah. So I won't feel like she's so proud. So what, even if she has so many degrees? I can't work with someone that's like that, that's so boastful. But if you're like kind of, thank you. I mean, everybody says thank you, so she has to just adapt it. So it doesn't mean it's not so much of a big deal. Okay, I don't want to ask so much questions again. I just want to look for things that give people so much difficulty, because I've already told you guys initially things that you're going to research on, like escalation process, conflict management, and all of that. So can you tell when a patient is expressing a huge sum of money, what is the right thing to do? Remember this question now that they ask you. If a patient tells you she's expecting a huge sum of money, what is the right thing to do? If you do not know the answer to a question, it relates to the trust. You should always tell them that, okay, thank you so much for that. In regards to this, I will be working with the hospital policy. Okay, currently in the hospital I am working in, this is what we do. You cannot create something because they are not working in your hospital. Yeah. Because the truth is that if you don't know the answer to something, you can say to them, okay, thank you so much. Like that question they asked you, the patient is expecting a huge sum of money, what will you do? Me now, I might not even know the answer. But I'll tell you, all right, thank you so much for that question. So I'm going to be working with the hospital policy in line with management of money. First and foremost, this person has told me that the person that said it's a question you do not know, you simply just tell them, okay, I'll be working regarding to the hospital policy in regards to this particular situation. Currently, where I'm working, if a patient comes in with a large, huge amount of money, or tell me there's especially a large amount of money, I'll be communicating this with my nurse in charge and my nurse manager. And if we need to take it to the cashier of the hospital, or we need to fill in a documentation, I will ensure proper documentation is being done to that. And if we need to keep it in a safe on a lock, I will ensure that the right process is being done. And this is the process we follow in my current hospital. But I understand that each trusts are different. I'm someone that is quick to learn. I'm someone that if I do not understand something, I do ask questions. And I believe if I am in such situations, I will be asking the question of calling senior authority to find out the right steps to take. Shikena, you're not working in the hospital, so you will not know the hospital truth. They don't expect you to know it. So that's just how to go about a question. When you stumble a question that you know that it's especially in such escalation questions or these similar questions, these are how you go about answering it. Now, they'll ask you other questions like, let me see, this is for a midwife. I did not see us having a midwife here, and this is for Canada question. I don't think there's anybody here that's been to Canada. This one is for Band 5 job. This one is for mental health. I believe there's someone that is in mental health. So questions here are about there's a question they ask here for mental health. It says, what section of safeguarding should children and parents be fixed? What section of safeguarding rules should we do we center for children and parents? What's the answer? Our mental health lady. I know there's someone that's mental health here. Be Obuna, you are mental health. I know that there are other mental health. So please answer that question.
Sorry, please repeat the question.
So the question for the mental health says, what I don't know if this page puts it correctly, but it said, what section of safeguarding should children and parents be fixed?
Children and parents.
I believe they're trying to ask you what section of safeguarding governs children and parents or something like that.
I don't have any idea.
But what laws guide or what laws do you use or do you put into consideration when you are trying to safeguard children and parents?
Yeah, you have the child and health safeguarding acts. You have the safeguarding protocols. You can also use the mental health acts.
Okay.
Mental capacity acts for children because most of them are unable to make decisions for themselves.
Mm-hmm. So if you are asked such questions and you do not understand, how would you have gone about it?
Well, I'll ask them to, if I did not understand, I'll ask them to repeat. But if I don't know it, I will ask them to please, that I want to revisit the question at the end of the interview. And this will give me time to think about it. Hopefully they may forget to ask me at the end of the interview. But
okay, go on.
If they don't, I'll just try to just answer it. But
exactly. So,
but I'll try to answer the questions that I know very well. That's to see if you can cover up for the ones I didn't answer properly.
Okay, fair enough. So let's say now, if they ask this kind of question, like I said, you ask them to explain very well. Now, you know, at times when you're answering questions, and they ask you just safeguarding children, parents. Like you said, there are children and parents safeguarding acts. You understand? So if they tell you, explain this, and I say, well, I understand that there are so many laws that guides mental health, especially depends on the situation as it's different. We have the children, like you just mentioned, Children and Safeguarding Act, which governs this, that, and in this kind of particular situation. There's also the act that governs the one that you mentioned about the Mental Health Act. And for the fact that children are vulnerable and they can't make decisions on themselves. So you just kind of relate it. I don't know how to say. There's a way you just kind of pick from pick rice, pick beans and stew and make rice, beans and stew. You understand? And it's delicious, isn't it? It is. So in situations whereby you have asked them, please, can you explain this for me? And they have told you that this is what we want you to do. You could always go about breaking what they are asking you into stratas if you do not really have a fixed answer to that. And somehow, if you really listen to things like what is community health, then they'll not tell you what is the role of a community health nurse. You somehow notice that if you bring in community health and bring in nurse and put it together, you'll be able to find out what the community health nursing is. Same thing as you bringing in what safeguarding is, you bringing in the child in, you bringing in the parents in, enables you to have an idea of what they're talking about. You've stylishly given me an answer already, but you did not know you've already stylishly given me an answer, because the answer covers that when you talk about the safeguarding. There's a safeguarding act that governs parents and children. There's one that governs the children as well. So I think you should read into it. But in a case where you find yourself in such situations, you do not have a straight answer and you ask them to explain. You just go about saying, well, if I'm to go by my understanding of what you are asking me, safeguarding means this and this, that. So it could probably mean you are trying to ask me this, and this is how the safeguarding acts work, and this, that. Now, if they don't, then they will be able to say, okay, at least she had an idea of what they're talking about. I've even seen some in some situation. They will even explain. I got a scholarship once in the UK, and even while the lady asked me a question, I tried to break it down to explain. So, okay, I see you have an idea of what I'm saying, but let me help you buttress what we wanted you to say. And then she buttressed it, and that was fine. I got it. It wasn't like anything. I got it. It was straightforward. So, because I already have an understanding, at least, of what they meant. You understand? Even if I did not give them the 1 point they wanted to hear, I had an understanding of it. Do you understand? So that also helps when you're answering such questions. Oh yeah, so the person that's asking about ophthalmic health, ophthalmic technician. Yeah, unfortunately you might leave, yeah, but just in case of if there will ever be a next time anyway. I don't know when your interview is, but if there will be a next time, yeah, just make sure you try and put it on time. So that really we need to prepare ahead of time for you, you understand? So that we're not just, it's unfair just leaving you like just in the dark. You understand? Yeah. So that's it. So that's for the late. So I hope I was able to give you tips on how you, especially because I'm just because if you want me to start reading so many questions that we have here, there are so many questions. But it's about the strategy to answer questions, especially whereby cases you do not know the answer. So now, what is government documents? What government document is used for health visits? What is the duty of a health visitor? What is your role as a nurse during a health visit? Now, these are questions for those in mental health, and you can probably follow that up if you want to continue reading that. Another question for mental health is, they ask you, can you tell me about puerperal psychosis? What are the clinical symptoms of alcohol withdrawal? How have you managed an aggressive patient? So these are questions for mental health. Puerperal psychosis, I hope you know what puerperal psychosis is. You understand? If you don't know, and they ask you, you say, oh, so sorry, I don't really understand, because at this point, I don't think you can. But I think, what's puerperal psychosis? Do you know? I know psychosis is like psychosis, but what's puerperal? Nurse Biobona, do you know what puerperal psychosis is?
Yes.
Or you don't?
Yes, I have an idea. Puerperal psychosis is usually the mental disorder that comes with women that have given birth, that just recently gave birth. Perinatal women, or women that just perinatal women. That's women that just recently gave birth. Usually, this psychosis occurs like after a woman gives birth. The person may start having depression and mood disorders, suicidal thoughts, and others. So usually
Right, so
happens
that's
to some
fine.
women after childbirth.
And you know what? You will notice that how you might even have an idea of what question they might ask you. They will ask puerperal psychosis or question relating to women that just give birth. It's at times when you look at their job description and the kind of cases they handle within their units, you realize that somehow they would have mentioned something related to women post childbirth and makes you prepared for something ahead of time like that. So you'll be able to know, okay, what certain cases do they handle from their adverts. You'll be able to see there. And if you do a little bit browse on their word, like now if you browse some word online, you'll be able to see cases they handle within that unit and makes you prepare ahead of time. So that's another way of knowing what you probably see before the interview. Now, this question is for USA, but I know they've asked this question at time when they ask you about your strengths as a nurse and what are your weaknesses. Remember that your weaknesses should not be something that will put your nursing skills at risk. For example, if you're talking about your weaknesses, you should not be talking about a medical error. Or give me a time whereby you made a mistake. Or can you tell me about your weaknesses? You should not be talking about, oh, I don't know how to communicate. Or I don't know how to be, I'm hyper, I get angry easily. No, you should be looking for something that even then will be emotional. You understand? They'll be emotional to you. I mean, what's your weaknesses? Probably ask me, I'll be like, oh, I'm someone that is easily moved, especially when I'm someone that when I was just starting my nursing degree, I'm someone that always, like, when a patient dies, it really affects me so much that I struggle to manage my emotions, especially in such sad situations. But over time, I've been able to improve with the help of my sisters and my ward manager, who have put me through coaches and helped me and guide me. And now I'm able to manage such situations wherever I find myself. Or I'm someone that I'm just always very active at work. Because some people are really hyperactive, whereby they are just about the work. Whereby even when I'm at home, I always still want to make sure things done in the work are being done. So at times it affects my work-life balance because I'm more about work. But these days, I've been able to learn how to manage my work-life balance so that it will not affect my health and all of that. So something that will favor the word, but it's also a weakness to you. It's something that you should pick. And then where you've made a mistake and what you've learned from it should not be something relating to, don't give example relating to medicine, don't give example related to maybe a fight with a patient or a quarrel or something like that. When they say a time when you've made a mistake, you can use a time of maybe when you were in nursing school or when you were doing your internship, maybe in terms of you forgot to put down the documentation and then your senior nurse told you the importance of it, and since then you have learned it and made it be part of your daily routine in your nursing life. So that happened when you were a student nurse and it's not happening now. So those are times you've made mistakes and all of that. So you don't need to say about something that is going to put you into trouble or something like that. You understand? So these are things when you are giving example, you need to take note of when you are giving an example. Now, let's look at other simple question because we'll soon round up, or we are rounding up now. They said, remember I told you that you should know about how to prepare for sepsis. For a patient that they ask you, okay, a patient that the blood pressure is low, you know what a low blood pressure is, what a high temperature is. So they could give you, for those that are going for theater, they give you similar condition patients. Your patient just came back from surgery and the blood pressure is 96/50 or 87/50. The pulse rate is 120. The respiratory rate is 16. Sorry, not 16, it's 25 or 30. What do you think is happening to the patient and how would you react? So you should know how to manage hypovolemic shock. You should know what to search for. You should know how to go about searching for, is there any bleeding? Check the sites, check the vital signs, know the importance of informing the doctors, IV fluid management, elevating the head of the foot of the bed if possible, or how to manage hypovolemic shock and all of that, IV fluids, and maintaining fluid balance, monitoring the input and output of the patient, giving patients oxygens and all of that. So, and then if they now add that the patient is having high temperature or maybe 38.9 or 39, urine is smelling, patient is becoming increasingly confused. Now you are looking at sepsis, management of sepsis, which is Buffalo, where you are taking bloods, monitoring urine outputs, preparing patient for fluids resuscitation. You are trying to patient antibiotics. You are monitoring the lactates. You are giving oxygens. You understand? Analgesia if the patient needs it. So these are management of sepsis. So these are the ways you manage such situations. All right. And what are the questions? So these are ways. If they say you notice medical error, know how to take care of a patient that has a fall, know how to take care of a patient that has pressure, ulcer, and all of that. So these are the ways you should know how to manage your patients. So I don't know if you guys have any questions that you want me to address that is bothering you. Now, before we talk about questions, if you know that you are preparing for your OSCE always remember that in as much as whether you get your interview or not, it's always important you give your best when preparing for your OSCE, and you should join quality OSCE class. And remember, we offer Express Med Global Services offer OSCE classes anyway, where you learn from the best, and there have been lots of testimonies as well. So it's important that you prepare ahead of time and don't just go and make a mistake and then fail and then decide to start coming back. Instead, it's always good to prepare quite ahead of time with your exams and all of that. So regarding your interviews now, does anyone have any questions? This particular question that's been bothering you so far that you want us to address before we end this interview session?
Please, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Thank you. The first one, I was asked also in an interview that if, for example, a patient that you are attending to now got displeased, or the patient relative got displeased about a particular care that you rendered, how do you go about it? That's the first question.
Those
Then
are
the other
escalation questions. Go on.
Okay. Then the other question that they asked, they said, which risk assessment tool do you use in your facility, and how, and give a scenario where you made use of it. Risk assessment tool.
Okay, so when they are talking about what are they calling it? Sorry, hold on. All right, so when they're talking about the first question you asked in terms of the patient is not happy with your care. Now, those are one of the escalation process. You need to understand the escalation process. You understand? So, for example, for escalation process now, you want to make sure that, yes, a patient has come to complain to you about what has happened, and they're not happy with, is it not happy with your care or not happy with the another person's care?
It's my care actually. Say when a patient is displeased with what you rendered,
With your
or the
care.
patient is,
So it's all about escalate. They want to know how you would escalate the process. Who would you be report to? So first and foremost, you need to quench the fire that is ongoing. So how do you quench the fire? Regardless of the situation, whether it's another person's care or your care, or someone is quarreling, there should be strategies you need to put in place to quench the fire. Now, for this particular case, you need to go and speak to the patient, try to find out what part of your care that the patient is not pleased with. It could be a thing of misunderstanding. You understand? Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was an error of omission. Maybe it was something that you should have done, but because maybe you were taking care of different patients, you now forgot to do it. Maybe it's something that is part of the hospital policy that you did, but the patient did not know that that is part of the hospital policy. Maybe it's something that you did right, but other people have been doing it wrong. And because you did the right thing, which is different from what the patients have noticed, I've seen that people do, so they think you are the one that is wrong. Do you understand? So I've had so many similar situations like that at work. So these are cases, and this is what I believe in Nigeria, which we have experienced. And so, are you going to meet the patient to understand what exactly is the thing that they are not happy with? And then, depending on what they have said, if it's something of a misunderstanding, you try to explain to them the hospital policy regarding your actions. Now, it's something of where you have done something wrong, you apologize in regards to what have happened. If the patient wants you to inform the family, you inform the family as well. So now you have moved from the patient to the family now. Now, if the patient wants to report, you ask the patient, tell me that if he still wants to report the case to the patient advisory committee, you tell them the process to which the patient, if the patient, you don't even need to current patient advisory committee, if the patient would still like to further report the case to a much more, and the authority of the hospital, you tell them the process of how they will report it to. And then you will make sure that you do an incident report of what has happened. You make sure that you document what has happened. You make sure that you inform the nurse in charge what has happened. Now, these are escalation process. Because they want to see what your escalation process will be. That's what they're interested in. So first is the patient, second is the family, third is the documentation. So you need to document both the incidents and everything that's happened. You need to inform who is the nurse in charge of your shifts. There's always a nurse in charge, both in Nigeria, wherever you are a nurse in charge, you need to inform the nurse in charge, you need to inform your manager, you understand, of what has happened so far. And if it is something that has detrimented the patient's health, you need to inform the doctor to come and assess the patient, and then you monitor the patient closely for any reactions. Simple. And then you can take a step further to add that if it's something that require you going for further training, maybe something that came from, maybe you do not fully understand how to go about the process and is a knowledge deficit from your side, you ask for training from your ward manager and go about studying more to improve yourself on that skill. So that it won't repeat itself again. Yeah. So that's escalation process. Now, another thing the second thing you mentioned is risk assessment. What is risk assessment? When they ask you for risk assessment simply means how you will be able to identify risks before it happens, or how you're able to identify potential hazards. For example, hazards in popular places in the hospital. Like now, in the NHS, we have different hazards and they do it for every patient that comes for admission. Number 1 is infection and control. Number 2 is falls. Number 3 is pressure ulcer management. These are ways they do risk assessment. You understand? Number 5 is must. Now you can use the example of, okay, so for the risk assessment tools, I'm going to focus on nutrition. So whenever a patient comes to our ward, we try to get the BMI of the patient and using the must. Must, M-U-S-T, everybody know must, is a risk assessment. You understand? So enable me to know if my patient is at risk of nutrition deficit or not. And when I do the weights, ask the patient his history of, so you need to go and read about must. You understand? Ask my patient the history of if they have had a reduced eating, or if my patient is having reduced eating in the past few weeks and all of that due to his sickness and everything. So if my patient comes out with a must of 2 or 1, I will take actions regarding to referring the patient to the appropriate authorities who will come in to manage the patient and keep a close eye and food chart on my patient to help to improve the nutritional status of the patient. So must is a risk assessment tool. There's another one that they use for infection and control. There's one that they use for pressure ulcer care. You understand? They are different. So all you just need to go online and look for one risk assessment tool and learn it. If I'm the one, I'll use must because everybody know must. You understand? They use must very well. Another one that they use in some hospitals, we call it water low, to check someone's pressure area to know if the person is at risk of having pressure sore in the bum and take actions to prevent that from happening. You understand? So these are different risk assessment tools. So you look for the one that you guys can use in Nigeria. Popular one that they want to hear, to be fair, is must. Pressure care, falls. How you'll be able to identify falls, infection and control, nutritional management. Those are the 4 major ones as nurses that we focus in the UK. Or maybe dementia too, patient or delirium risk too. These are other ones that you can add. Or sepsis too. As one of even the easiest, identify patients that are at risk of sepsis. So these are risk assessment tools. You can even say if you are working in dementia ward, they can say maybe there's a dementia management tool you guys use. It's just a way of identifying the patient that is at risk of something in your hospital and then act towards it. So just look for something related. It must not even be something that all of them know. Something, let's say, picture now of yourself. Dehydration tool. Just tell them dehydration too. How you be able to manage it, be able to identify patient risk of dehydration. They ask some questions on the tool, and then you explain it how you use it for the patients to identify those that are risk for dehydration or those that are risk for kidney failure and know how to attend to them. It's very simple at that. So someone else asks, is it able to wear t-shirt for virtual interview? No, you can wear polo. Be neat. The most important thing is you look neat, but just try and look official, okay? The t-shirt makes one look more official. So you might as well wear it for 30 minutes. It will not kill you. My invite was sent and it requires me to choose a time because they sent me the venue. Let's try and request a virtual interview from them. They might give it to you. Might. Hopefully they do. Some people are raising their hands. Speak if you want to speak before we end the session because I'm about to end the session.
Okay, thank you, Ma. Sorry, in my interview, they asked me how did I handle a challenging situation. Although I gave them I'm a mental health nurse, so I gave them an installation of a mental health patient that was aggressive. I don't know if that is the right answer. And then again, if you are talking,
challenging situation, was it not? It's a challenging situation.
Yes, I gave them example of how I handle the challenging behavior of a patient. And then I want to ask again, when you are talking about a patient or something, is it right to use he or she in your words?
Doesn't matter. Depends on what you experience. Just don't mention the patient's name. Use he,
Okay.
use she, doesn't matter.
Okay, ma, please, I want to ask, how do you answer community health, community-based question? Because in my feedback, they were saying that I wasn't able to meet the community, to work in a community setting, that I should go and look for inpatient NHS hospital to work for.
So, was it a community hospital that you applied
Yes,
for?
yes, it
Now,
was a
for you to
community.
work, if you are going to, like I said before, if you apply for a job role, and have you worked in community before?
I've not really worked in a community
So you
before.
should have gone to watch videos on community nursing before your interview and see how community nursing works. Community nursing is different from hospital nursing. In hospital nursing, you tend to see patients in the hospital. Yeah. In
Okay.
community nursing, it's either the patient is coming for, outpatient clinic.
Yes.
Yes, it's either a kind of outpatient clinic whereby they just come in. So you just check wound dressing, you do the wound dressing for them. It's not an inpatient, they don't have inpatient where the patient is staying in. Do you understand? And again, in community nursing, some of them tend to have to go to the patient's home. Do you
Okay.
understand? So
Yes.
they go to the patient home, they go and care for the patients there. So things like catheterization, things like wound dressing, things like checking of blood sugar, it's not inpatient, it's more of patient coming to see you, you do the treatments, they go, those sort of things, that's what they do. So it's different from inpatient. Inpatient, you are with the patient, you come to work, it's a shift work. Community is just like community in Nigeria, there's nothing like that. You understand? So I don't know if you understand what outpatient setting is and how it works, and go and watch people in community so you can have a grasp of what because if you don't have a grasp of what community nursing is, in the interview you will flop. So if they ask you about how you've cared, and I don't know if you ever did posting in
Yes, I did post in the community.
yes, you understand that in the community they do more of preventive measures than more of curative measures. You understand? So they do more of preventive than curative. And even if they want to do curative, they don't really, they are like an aftercare. The main treatment that's done in the hospital, they're just like follow-up care. Do you understand? Follow-up care, aftercare, appointment care. So they don't give, and referrals, they deal with lots of referrals. So they are like, their main goal in the community is to assess a patient. When the patient goes to meet them, oh, I'm having headache, I'm having this, they will assess you and do the proper referral to the acute clinic. That's the hospital. Then follow-up care in terms of having to follow up treatments, removing of drains, checking the wound sites, doing the wound dressing, checking the BM of a patient, following up the patient's blood results, sending referrals, able to identify patients that are at risk of sexual health transmission, and sending to the appropriate referrals and follow-up. Those are community nursing roles. They do not do the active management of treatment in the hospital. They don't give IV fluids, stay in the hospital and give it all, even as much as they don't. I don't know if you get what I mean. They are more of a daycare case. They don't have their patient don't stay overnight. If this patient we have to be someone that will in, they will refer straight to the hospital. That's how community works.
Okay, ma, thank you, ma. I wanted to ask another question. Is it possible, like they are asking whenever they are speaking, is it possible you can ask them if you want to use paper and biro in order to note down their question?
Yeah. You can do that. You said, but I wonder how many questions can you write? But you can. You say, oh, sorry, please, I've got a pen and paper. I tend to understand when I write things down, the question. So if you don't mind, I would like to write quickly the question that you asked me so I can have a full understanding of what you asked me. So I won't forget any points to answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Who else is raising hand?
Yeah, I'm the one.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to ask a question. Though it's my friend that did an interview with an organization, and just because of one question, it's like series of interview, 3 stages. At the 3rd stage, they say she didn't make it. So the feedback she got was, okay, this is a situation that you're on a little with a colleague, and the colleague says she's going, that she's leaving the units to go, that she cannot walk again. So what will you do? And you have patient, and the ward is full with patients. So what will you do? That was the question. So she answered that she's going to report to her in charge, and they say she was wrong. That was the feedback she got. So I want to ask the same question. So what should be the right
Okay, so
right
first
answer?
and foremost, it's just that what I told you. I said in such situation. In such situation, you need
Yes.
to tell them you will work with hospital policy. And so currently, you will answer the question in line with your current hospital policy. That
Sorry,
one
ma'am.
will stay with you first. Let them know that you're not working in their shop. Secondly, if you're handling a case whereby a colleague tells you that she's going home, why did they just say the person is going home? Or they said that the person is ill and the person is going home?
She got angry and she said she's leaving. She's going home.
Okay. She got angry.
Yes.
First and foremost, she got angry. They are trying to note what your conflict management skills is about. That was the question.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
question is, she got angry. Why did she get angry? It's not just going to go and report. What do you do? That is conflict management. First, you will try and call your colleague and sit with the colleague when she has calmed down and ask her question like, oh, hope I haven't offended. Try to find out why she's angry. Is it a misunderstanding? Is it a patient-related thing? You understand? Is it something that you can resolve? Is it something that you did to her or somebody else? Try and resolve it amicably. You understand? Also try to explain to her the importance of being there, as at this point, patient's life, which is the core thing of you guys being there, is at stake. But before you start bringing in the patient part, try to understand from our own angle what is happening. Try to see also, is this something family related? You understand? If you are the only one in the world, though, at that time you don't have a nurse in charge. At that time, because if you have a nurse in charge, you can as well inform the nurse in charge. Someone is. I need to mute somebody. Okay, you can as well inform the nurse in charge about what has happened, and let the nurse in charge take the following step to escalate it. But if you have tried to speak to her amicably, try to resolve it, and she's still adamant, saying she just walked out of the ward, she's still very adamant and all of that, then you escalate the situation straight to the manager in charge of the night shifts, the supervisor in charge of the night shifts. After doing that, for patient safety, you prioritize the patients who need closer monitoring. At that stage, I will be probably working with some health assistants in the wards, and so I will delegate tasks according to their skills. You understand? And then prioritize patients' care and needs. I'm also going to red flag this and raise this up, as I understand that I cannot single-handedly manage the whole world all by myself. I will seek for urgent support from the senior management. And make sure that I document all that has happened and escalate it furthermore to my senior or my ward manager. Do you understand how your friend should have gone about answering that question?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much.
Because that question is divided into two. Number one is conflict management. They want to see what is our skills in conflict management. They want to see what is our skills in managing the ward that is down. And number three, they want to see what is our skills in escalation. That's what they wanted her to hear. And maybe it's not 100% synonymous with what they do in their own. It's related. And that's why you always initially say, in terms of escalation stuff, escalation, most especially, you work with the hospital policy. Then you now start with what you don't just say, I work with hospital and that's it. You need to explain what then goes on in your own current hospital, but try and relate it like that. Understanding the question gives you the answer. Okay, that's enough. I've answered enough today. we've spent over 2 hours here. Oh, not we said at 5:30, so meaning that we spent even more than 2 hours. So we've tried for today. We need to take a break. All right. So
Sorry, ma,
thank you,
please.
everybody.
Sorry, ma.
What?
Is the Zoom meeting recorded? Because I was being logged out because of network.
Okay, I recorded it anyway, but
Okay.
yeah, we'll see. Okay, so thank you everybody for being here today. I wish you all success in your interview. Just in case you do not get, God forbid, anyway, but just in case you do not get, like I know before, our job application team have actually improved a lot. We've had lots of testimonies. Just today alone, I'm even doing this interview session. I've seen up to 3 testimonies on our job application group already. So we've had lots of testimonies. So you can reach out to them. They will help you to do this interview, job applications, and help you get that job and prepare you again for another interview session. Remember that after your interview, please and please, you can see me. I'm going through my phone. I'm checking questions. That means that those questions did not come from heaven. Those questions did not come from heaven at all. Those questions came from who? People like you and I that have gone for interview. Whether they were some people would think they were not successful, but they just submitted it. Yes, because as that your, for example, now the last week I say your friend had an interview and this was this and this was the answer. She probably don't know how to go about it the next time. But if she had jotted it down and bring it to us, and she's having interview preparation next time again, we'll be able to help her trash such questions so that if she's asked again that kind of question, she'll be able to have an answer. So that's why after your interview, Bini will say whether it's Lawowo, Yoruba will say Ejo, Igbo will say Biko. Please, we would like you to drop your questions in the group so that we can use it to prepare for future people. And then not just God forbid, maybe you should not be among them, but if you ever, because you always have to plan for the negative as well, so you can also be prepared again for interview sessions. And remember, we also still help to do good job applications for people. Thank you very much for today's session. I love the fact that it was interactive, and that was good. That's how you go about interview. You don't just keep quiet. It's not good to keep quiet because once you keep in your mind, you don't know if it's correct. But when you voice it out, and someone is able to help you, be able to resolve it, like you said, 2 heads is better than 1. Thank you again, and see you guys. Bye. Thank you.